You can join Sauce this Sunday for a watch party unlike any other at the all-new Hop House Mystic Lake Casino. Don't miss a minute of the action on the giant wall TV displays. Enjoy the best seats, food and beverages, trivia, and prize giveaways all game long, hosted by the one and only Meat Sauce. The party kicks off at noon, Minnesota and Baltimore. KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
It's nacho time. Ben Leber is with us at the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. If you have questions, 64686. Of course, Ben's appearance is brought to you by the Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. He'll give us the Hop Splash player of the game in a little bit. Nacho, I want to start with a Vikings talking point that we call the Great Punch-Out. Let's listen.
3rd and 13 from their own 6. Goff, he's going to toss it left. Montgomery bobbles it, turns it up outside the numbers to the 5. He dropped it, and Harry the Hitman, he picks it up at the 35, angles to the right, and he's tackled by David Montgomery. The Vikings get the first take of this division collision, and they get the ball in Lions territory. Harrison Smith with the fumble recovery, and for the Hitman, the 10th of his career.
I believe that was a Cashman punch-out, if I'm not mistaken. A terrific play. And, Leber, what's interesting to me is that it seemed fairly clear that the Vikings had frustrated or were frustrating Gibbsy in a way that we've rarely seen, right? The kid has just killed us. So to me, it was almost like, all right, we're going to go to the other guy, who they go to anyway. Different look, and maybe he's going to handle it. He made a hell of a play on that pass. It actually was he broke at least one tackle. And I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe this is going to be a game for the more experienced runner. And then it gets reversed almost as quickly as I said it, with the punch out and a massive play that obviously led to 7 points for the Purple.
Yeah, the whole turnover circuit's been a huge point of emphasis for the whole defense. I mean, we don't have to go back too far to think about Isaiah Rodgers' historic game. And they talked about it then, how much they do focus on it. And, you kind of couple that with going back to the basics was kind of the words that I heard after the game. With the whole week of preparation was just from not only just your own performance and your approach, but also just in schematics and stuff like that. Like, let's just go back to the basics. Let's do what we do best. And part of that is just attacking the football and not overthinking things. And I'd say Cashman just for this defense, the way that they use him in the blitz game, he's so good at the craftiness of the blitz, the nuance of it, the disguise, the bluffing. Even then when he does blitz, he comes downhill at the right angle, because that's the other thing. We have so many these inside blitzes, especially with the other linebackers, with Eric Wilson and Ivan Pace, that if you're going to take on a running back, well, you have to take him on either inside shoulder or outside shoulder, because you have to take away those little gaps because you have a guy blitzing behind you. So he's really, really savvy at all of that. And to go back to the way that we were able to get into his head a little bit, and I know that he didn't fumble that ball, but they hammered him with those blitzes.
They did.
Jermaine Gibbs, in a humanitarian way, kind of felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Your butt kicked out there. Like, you can't pass protect worth a lick right now, because whether it's IP or Eric Wilson or Cashman,
right,
when they were coming in those A and B gaps, he could not hold up.
No, that was just a massive swing in the ball game. So the age-old question after a performance like that defensively, especially having to do with, pretty much neutering Gibbs, is it scheme? Is it something different they did in terms of adjustment, or is it simply a matter of players playing better?
Well, first and foremost, outside of that first drive, we really buckled down defensively, and we shut down the run. And the reason we were so good against the pass, and the reason why all of our packages and our blitz package and bluff packages worked, because they were facing third and longer situations.
That's true. Yep.
And it's the best that I've seen our defensive line attack and disengage from blocks up front. It was great. Whether it was Hargrave or Allen or Levi Drake, Redmond, it didn't matter. When those guys were popping their hands, they weren't staying on the blocks for very long. They were trying to disengage and get to the ball carrier. I mean, I saw numerous times where a defensive lineman was actually in on the tackle 3 or 4 yards down the field, and that guy came from across the formation. So it was hustle, it was attitude, it was everything that you talk about, but they actually went out there and implemented it.
The other player who I felt was made uncomfortable, and that's what good defenses do. That's what I think largely defines a good defensive performance, is if you can make a world-class running back look mortal, or if you can look a really experienced, cagey veteran quarterback look a little off the mark, a little bit ruffled, a little bit rattled in a way we've rarely seen. And to me, that's the other thing they did with Goff, where, he was one-hopping some throws, either because he had to rush the throw or because he couldn't, push into the throw, exactly follow through on the throw. That's the other thing. We all know he carves everybody up if he's got time to do it, and you get him to his, if you allow him to throw where he wants to. But that's the most uncomfortable I feel like they have made Goff look in a long time.
Yeah, it's not dissimilar to the way they made Darnold look in our last game of the season last year.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, how come we haven't seen this version of Sam, all season long? But when the hits pile up and you realize, oh man, even my running backs aren't protecting me up the middle, I can't step up in the pocket. And then you have the guys coming off the edge, and they were applying pressure too. You can tell it got into his head, and I'm with you. It was the most uncomfortable I've seen him. It's the happiest feet I've seen out of him. He wouldn't set his feet. He knew he couldn't step up, and then when he got flushed out of the pocket, I mean that is his biggest weakness of his skill set. Is like he's not an outside the pocket off platform thrower. So the fact that we were able to do that, you saw exactly what that yields, and that yields inaccurate throws, and they're off target.
John is checking in all the way from Playa Vista, California, a regular listener. And this is for you. Nacho, what can you tell those of us who are not X's and O's hardcores about Van Ginkel? What is it that he does that makes the defense better, or is it just a vibe thing? He also wants to remind us that it's 68 degrees and sunny in L.A., where I believe they had their Dodgers victory parade, in fact, that ended at Dodgers Stadium. So, John, we're happy for you. The Van Ginkel effect. What can you tell us?
I am slightly jealous of the weather, although today was kind of a banner weather day here in Minnesota for being the late fall.
Correct.
So, it's kind of the whole package. It's much as I was saying, this defense is tailor-made for a guy like Cashman. I think the same thing can be said for Van Ginkel, and I think part of it is having a guy like Grenard on the other side, where he doesn't have to cover some of those responsibilities. Like, okay, Grenard, you just be the menace that you are, and then the other guy on the other side, he'll handle some of the bluffing, the dropping in coverage, the blitzing off the edge, the really good, stout run stopper that he is. I would say, number one, his football IQ is off the charts. He's so well studied. He understands formation. He understands how they're going to attack the whole defense, how they're going to attack him, and he's a fearless player. I mean, when he's asked to dig out some of these run games where he gets a down block and he's got to close and he has another blocker coming right at him from the other side, whether it's a tight end or an offensive guard, he's not afraid to stick his nose in there and get underneath that gap where he's supposed to be. And, he does a lot of the dirty work. And then he's one of those slippery rushers. I wouldn't say that he's unorthodox, but I also wouldn't say that it's teaching tape. Like, I don't think you would probably, of all of the edge rushers in the league, I don't know if you'd pick Van Ginkel as like, okay, I'm going to teach my high schoolers how to do this rip chop and this spin move and this and that. But when you watch him on film, though, as just a player, you're like, this guy just gets it done. Like, everything you ask him to do, an inside spin move, he can do it. If he wants to, chop and rip, he can do it. It may not be teaching tape, but he's just slippery. He's crafty. He's just a hell of a football player. A
good follow-up to our discussion about Goff for you as well. Let me see if I can get the exact wording. In the past, Goff has tended to pick us apart when we blitzed. So did we blitz differently? Was it their line just didn't handle the pressure as well as it had when we have blitzed in the past? What distinguished this performance from the others where he's kind of diced us up?
I think we did a great job of just not tipping our blitzes when we were, and then sometimes we were mugging the line of scrimmage and we did blitz. And I think the imbalance that we created on his thought process of I'm not exactly sure where my hot is. I don't know where to escape from. I don't know what to exactly check into, because we did do a good job of disguising. And there were times where it looked like a static cover 2 look. All right, I got 2 safeties over the top. Nobody's moving. Nobody was tipping anything. Linebackers weren't moving. Corners weren't moving anywhere. And he sees one thing, and then all of a sudden, the snap of the ball, our guys are blitzing from depth, and it just becomes a chaotic scene. And then we have a safety that might just rotate down into the box and become sort of a rob safety. And it's no longer cover 2, and he takes away your hot. And you do that a couple times in the game, it makes you second guess everything else. And so, again, it starts with stopping the run, which we did, and then that does open up the confusion game in the kind of the chess match that happens on third down.
Your impressions of the return of the quarterback of the future, J.J. McCarthy.
It makes me smile. I really thought after the first quarter, I was like, this is a different version of McCarthy than we saw in the first 2 games.
Yep.
I know this might seem a little harsh, but looking back on the first 2 games, as much as I knew he was engaged and he was trying to take command, it felt a little manic. And it felt like it was a little hurried and the process was a little too fast for what it actually called for. And then yesterday he was settled. It seemed professional. It just seemed like a smooth operation. And he was in total command right from the get-go. And you go from that would-be touchdown to Jordan Addison in the front left of the end zone, which was a spectacular football. I mean, he put it right where it needed to be put.
No question.
It was a drop, and he shakes it off, and then a few plays later, he's scrambling to his right, off-platform throw, across his body, a gutsy sort of throw into a zone coverage in which he sees Hawkinson sit down, break off his route, and sit down into the open grass, and he finds him. And I'm like, that was that was beautiful. It's like, and there wasn't any panic to his body movement. So I really liked everything about his game. I know it wasn't perfect. There was a couple throws I'm sure he'd love to have back. And, I think he left a lot of hidden yards out there by not leading certain receivers and all that. But that's going to come with time. I thought his processing was exactly where you want it, and the decision-making was on point.
Lastly, Hop Splash player of the game. What do you got?
Okay, so I feel like I have to reiterate this every single week here, Dan. Somebody reached out to me on the old X, and they're like, if Eric Wilson's not the Hop Splash player of the game, I don't know who is. I go, yeah, but this award's not really for the most obvious guy.
Yes.
So, yes, Eric Wilson had a fantastic game, along with Cashman, along with a bunch of others. But, this is partially selfish, too, because I still want to get Levi Drake Rodriguez's nickname going with El Presidente. So El Presidente, LDR, I'm going to give him the Hop Splash player of the game, not just for the field goal block. You guys should watch this guy work, man. He was winning virtually every one-on-one battle that he had up front, whether it was a pass rush, whether it was a run block that he was disengaging from. I alluded to earlier, guys hustling to make an impact on the run game, even if the run was away from them. Like Hargrave did it several times, which he had a fantastic game as well. But I thought Levi Drake, he kind of encompassed that hustle mentality, that no-quit attitude, and he really bought into everything that they talked about on Saturday night. So I'd like to give the award to El Presidente.
Nice. I like it.
The one thing that's clear, though, that Sierra Nevada should feel very good about is their branding with you has worked, Leber. If you've got
they're exactly.
If you've got people calling out the Hop Splash player of the game and giving you tips, that means mission.
You got to them.
They've been back like 4 or 5 years in a row, so they know it works. But this is if there's any doubt about year 6, Sierra Nevada right there. Like that tweet and save it, Ben.
Well, I tell you what, man. We need to get Doe to just kind of clip this whole thing and just send it to them.
There you go.
This is it. I mean, this they got to be back next year.
One of the younger salespeople will do that for Doe. It'll probably be me. We'll get that done. He doesn't know how to clip things, but we'll get it clipped for him, and we'll make sure that they get it.
That might be part of the process. Enjoy the Monday night game tonight. I know you'll be glued to Dallas versus the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I actually will. I mean, I am secretly cheering for my guy Shotzi.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm supposed to be sort of I think it's fun to hate on the Cowboys, but I can't.
Yeah.
One of my guys is the head coach.
He's a very likable guy.
I'm cheering for the Cowboys this year.
Very likable guy. Great stuff as always, my friend. We'll chat next week. Thanks, Ben.
All right, sounds good, man.
I appreciate you.
Guys.
Nacho Leber, brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Bonus bucks?
The Fan and Two-Man and a junk truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. Final keyword of the evening is bank. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword bank.
Maybe another Vikings talking point when we get back, and then Jonny Athletic. Stay tuned. All right, let's try to squeeze in one more Vikings talking point. We alluded to some of this with Nacho, but never hurts to follow it up with the Paul Allen Project along with Peter Bursich. I call this particular talking point what we were discussing as late as Friday. Because in the end, the players do have the last word. And in the end, if they can plant their feet, inspired perhaps by Pat Riley or somebody else, the outcome can end up looking quite different than what most of us expected.
One thing, Paul, for sure that I've seen out of our defensive front already is we're playing on the Lions side of the line of scrimmage. Those guys up front are really penetrating and getting in north and south.
Jared Goff, 3 of 5, 66 yards. Gibbs is going to get the call right side, and a host of Vikings wrap him up and do so behind the line of scrimmage. Blake Cashman and Eric Wilson with a loss of 2. Jahmyr Gibbs, the tailback, and he gets the call up the middle, and it's Javon Hargrave with a tackle for loss. Like a shot from the middle of the Lions' offensive line. It's a loss of 2, and it's 2nd and 12.
Now, we needed that from Javon Hargrave, Paul. We've been trying to find him. We haven't talked much about him. He just hasn't done a lot, but he came knifing in as Jahmyr Gibbs tried to cut that play back. What a huge, huge play to get the Lions to 2nd and 12.
2nd and 10. Goff, straight drop. Now he rolls out to the right, sets up a screen to Jahmyr Gibbs. Andrew Van Ginkel with a tackle for loss. And Van Ginkel basically ran the route for Gibbs and brought him down with a tackle for loss. So now it'll be 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. Timeout Lions. And Jared Goff goes under center. And the Lions are going to attempt to establish a running game as they hand it to Jahmyr Gibbs, left side, and Javon Hargrave wraps him up at the 10 after a gain of 2. That'll make it 2nd and 8. The reason I kind of flippantly said that is the Lions have now 27 rushing yards, and they're one of the great running teams in the NFL.
They are. We've done a nice job up front, and us being able to say Javon Hargrave's name a few times today is a good sign for this defense. Between he and Van Ginkel, that's helped out a ton.
1st and 15 from the Vikings 35. 3:25 and counting to go in the third quarter. Laporta in motion. Toss left, Jahmyr Gibbs. The sledding and the openings have been non-existent for Jahmyr, including this one. Heads to the left side. Met at the point of attack. Falls ahead for 2. So that'll make it 2nd and 13 from the Vikings 33.
Last year, that very same Jahmyr Gibbs touched the ball 47 times in games against the Minnesota Vikings. 330 yards.
It's frustrating.
7 yards a carry and 6 touchdowns.
We know it's not good baseball.
Yesterday, 12 touches, 28 yards. Longest run from scrimmage was 7. 0 touchdowns. No first downs. And gave up at least 1 sack when he got devoured by Eric Wilson in the end zone. That was near the end.
And Brady called him out
of
on
the
it,
third
too.
quarter. He did. That's very true.
He said, you can't do that.
No. So there's your, again, the JJ stuff's important. We get all that. A number of other issues all fit together. But there's your ball game, in all honesty. Because if Gibbs gets going, everything is likely offensively to get sped up. There's going to be more heat. There's going to be more of that pressure. We got to outscore them. We got to keep up with them. And the fact that Gibbs, who is as fun, I think, to watch as any player in the league when he's going good, was just not a factor in any way, shape, or form. You even heard a couple of those highlights, or the sort of that uneasiness through the crowd, maybe even a couple of boos, which I thought was rich, given how good the Lions have been. But
they have standards now.
They do have standards now. That's very different. But they did a great job on whether, again, it was scheme or just playing better or a combination of all those things. Lions playing worse. Lions now have their own offensive line issues. Whatever that combination was, I can understand if Vikings fans break out in hives just looking at Gibbs, even before he touches the ball, because he's been so dangerous with them, and not just with them. But they made him utterly and completely a non-factor. And the other running back, Montgomery, who can be, a nice change of pace.
He's hurt us too.
In his best play, they punched the ball out. Cashman punches the ball out, and it leads to what? 7 more points. We finished that drive with a touchdown, didn't we? I think.
I will double check.
We definitely got 3.
But I think we did.
Maybe we got 7. I thought we got 7. But whatever it was key, because I had the feeling, all right, well, maybe this is going to be a Montgomery game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think he's more of a veteran guy. He can do other things.
McCarthy, that was the scramble.
That was a scramble with a touchdown.
And what's crazy about that fumble was it was a devastating third down pickup, right? If they don't get that.
Exactly right. That's a first down.
Oh, my God. How did they give up another third and long?
Yeah.
We've got them right where we want them.
Exactly.
And all year, third and long has been like the Vikings' Flonami kryptonite, right? Teams have just been picking them up over and over again, and they catch you on a running play. So it was a nice save, and then, JJ.
It's a great save, no question. And Montgomery, he can fumble a little bit. That's happened before in some games. The other thing is, weren't the Lions like 3 for 3 or 4 for 4 going forward on fourth down?
Yeah, I think they got all of them.
They got all of them, and you automatically would think, well, that means you have no chance to win. That's the irony of it. The Lions were very clutch on fourth down when they were willing to go for it on fourth. But there were a few times the Vikings defense was good enough and they were backed up enough that even the Riverboat Gambler didn't feel like he could risk going for it on fourth down from deep in his own end, or fourth down and 12, or fourth down and 15, or fourth down and 10. We'll come back with Jonny Athletic. We'll get some Vikings reaction from him, but we'll also go in a couple of other directions, including your red hot Minnesota Timberwolves. They are in Brooklyn to take on the winless Nets tonight. Johnny is there. He will file a live report from near the Statue of Liberty next.
Final segment of the show wrap tonight because of Wolves basketball, presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper show wrap.
It certainly sets up like the ultimate trap game for your favorite basketball team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, basking in the glory of a one-game winning streak.
Knocking off Charlotte, toying with Charlotte late, and then going to Brooklyn, where the Nets have not won home or road yet. They're looking for their first victory for the 2025-26 season, and the Wolves lay an egg. And Brooklyn gets their victory. Jonny Athletic is there to file a live report. He is continuing to track the Wolves early on the road. What percentage chance do you put it regarding the Wolves doing exactly that and finding a way to lose tonight?
Yeah, I've covered this team for a long time, and even in the good times, which we've seen a lot of lately, Dan, they always have a maddening propensity to play down to the competition. And then, you even forget that they got Cat on Wednesday night. So are they looking ahead to the Knicks and to that game too? So yeah, I do think I'm sure the coaches are a little nervous. just because this is historically the kind of game that the Wolves mess around with, and then they end up in trouble, and then and then they have egg on their face. We'll see, because the Nets, they're a terrible, terrible team. Michael Porter Jr. is out tonight, so it's hard to see how they score enough to be in this game, but the Wolves haven't exactly been, the Pittsburgh Steelers steel curtain defense for most of the time either. So we'll see. I expect them to win, but I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the point guard situation. I do want to get back to it a little bit. Eventually, we will talk Vikings reaction with you too. But we've been very Vikings heavy throughout this program. I want to get your read on the bench as an entity. It's very early yet. I have not been overwhelmed by our bench to this point, or all parts of it, especially the kids. So what are you seeing early? What are the trends? And what does that tell you in terms of any adjustments in terms of personnel? Who gets the minutes as we go forward the next several weeks?
Yeah, I mean, the bench has been disappointing to start this season, Dan. I mean, we entered the season believing that this was going to be a team that could go 10 deep, maybe even 11, depending on how guys were playing. And, it's not just the kids. It's not just Dillingham and Shannon who are struggling a little bit, or at least inconsistent.
Yeah.
Naz Reid has not been himself, and that's a huge part of it, Dan. Like, he's supposed to be the linchpin. He's supposed to be the guy that comes off the bench and really holds everything down. He started to show some signs of playing better, but they need more consistency and more explosiveness out of Naz Reid. And we'll see if they get that tonight, kind of near his hometown. So, but on the young side of things, I think, Dillingham has some physical limitations that he's dealing with, that he's trying to figure out how to navigate. Some games he looks okay. I thought he was all right against Charlotte. There's other ones that he looks overwhelmed. The one I think that has been the most disappointing, I would say, is Terrence Shannon Jr. He had a great preseason, shot the ball great. He just has not looked as assertive and as aggressive, looking for his own shot, playing downhill. And I think it's easy to say that this is just a little blip for him. He will get going here eventually. Dillingham is a little bit more of an open question about what's going to happen. And Jalen Clark is finally back, and he's the difference maker. So I think you're going to see a lot more minutes for him in the next days and weeks here, because he's just been too good and too impactful defensively.
So you get the feeling early here that we're going to see a lot of experimentation of the point guard position, even though there's not really that many options right now, right? It's not like you can, the roster, at least as it stands now, kind of is what it is. How do you see this going?
Yeah, I do. I think, Dan, that really it's going to be up to Chris Finch, basically game in and game out, to decide, is this a Rob Dillingham game or is this not a Rob Dillingham game? And that's basically the decision that he's going to have to make. I mean, Mike Conley is going to be solid. There are going to be nights where, he just doesn't have it at this age, or, things aren't going well. But by and large, you can count on Mike Conley to be solid. With Rob Dillingham, he might be actually pretty impactful, running pick and roll, getting up and down the floor, making some defensive plays as he did in Charlotte, or he might be just unable to get to the rim because of the size disadvantages. He may be turning the ball over, and then it might be a night where he only plays 10 minutes rather than 15 to 20. And I thought Finch really sort of sent out an olive branch in the Charlotte game, because he went back to Dillingham in the fourth quarter of a 9-point game, because Dillingham would play well in the second half. And you have to do that, even if it may cause, even more gray hairs on his head. You just have to give him those chances when he does have a little bit of confidence going. But I think that's going to be very fluid, depending on the opponent, depending on the night, for the foreseeable future here.
Defensively, we're not where we want to be, I don't think, correct?
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. Yeah, it's been, they were good against Charlotte, and you say, oh, Charlotte, congratulations. But the Hornets are scoring a bunch of points this year. They're fourth overall in offensive efficiency. And so for them to play well in that game actually was a step in the right direction, but still a long ways to go on that front to reclaim anything. They were 27th in the league in defense. You just cannot be that way when you have Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels on the court. So they got a lot to figure out there.
You know, this is a team, I think a general manager or president of basketball operations who doesn't, panic. He tends to be long view guy. He tends to be very patient. But do you think he'll stay patient? If the point guard thing, if nothing seems to really work consistently, at what point in the season do you think they start exploring options? And are there any options that are even worth exploring, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, so I would expect that if things don't solidify, and both by January 1st, I do think that you'll see Tim Connolly be aggressive. I mean, he has been aggressive since he got here in making deals. He does look at this championship window as open right now for this team, and so I think he wants to maximize it. But I do think that, to your point, he does want to give Rob Dillingham time. He does want to give Mike Conley time to kind of get the rust off and play, and he doesn't want to be reactionary. The good thing for that part of it is just there's really very few deals that happen in the NBA before like December 15th. Like, it just doesn't happen very often. And so there is time that's going to be built in organically to really evaluate and take a look at things. But yes, I do believe that if we get to late December, early January, and there are still these issues and still these inconsistencies at point guard, I believe he will go out and look for things. What are the options? That's a great question. I mean, down the list, Tyus Jones isn't playing well in Orlando. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's kind of like a middle of the road type of a move. Everyone right now, though, is watching Ja Morant in Memphis, Dan. And it does not look like it's going well there. He makes a ton of money. It would be very hard to do something, and maybe the Wolves would have concerns just given all of the issues Morant has had lately. But he is a dynamic point guard that could become available eventually here. So that is one name, that I would just keep an eye on. Again, just stressing here, I don't think that there's been any talks. I don't think that there's anything there, but that's a name that I would watch if we get down the road and they feel like they have to do something.
Did the Vikings change everything yesterday in Detroit?
I don't know if they changed everything, but they certainly got something done that they absolutely needed to. I mean, I thought that they were teetering on the brink of collapse here, Dan. I really did. When you looked at how they had performed against the Chargers, the defense really struggling, all of the issues at quarterback, and for them to come out, play well defensively, getting Van Ginkel back, I think is really big. So that was really encouraging. And then I think J.J. McCarthy really gave reason for optimism going forward. I mean, there were certainly some throws that he missed, but just his overall energy, his overall leadership, his playmaking ability, the guts that he showed to make the big throw to Naylor. I mean, in his third start in a tough place to play, I was pleasantly surprised by how well they played in that game. And I do think it does take a little bit of the pressure off right now, and maybe lets guys calm down just a little bit here. I don't think it's a stamp that they have arrived and look out top of the division, but it definitely did stem the tide on this is going to be a long and ugly season here going forward. So at least they got some intrigue into it, which was important.
Yeah, I think the way I've been looking at it is they didn't clinch anything with the victory, but they might have lost their season if they'd have gone to Detroit and done what a lot of people expected. I'm not sure there would have been any recovery from 3-5 at that point when you look at the schedule. So the door was opened, and you avoided probably saying, okay, rebuilding. Let's just hand the ball to the kid quarterback, and we'll just live with whatever he's going to do because there's just not going to be anything at stake. Are you willing to go public? I know you like to keep this private, but is this the time to go public with the fact that, for example, you're in Brooklyn to track the Wolves against the Nets tonight, that part of the Jonny Athletic routine on game night is to show up at the game 3 hours early and sit by yourself in the press section, press box, meditating, eyes closed for at least, what is it? Is it 15 minutes? Does you go that long, or is that a little too long?
No, it's definitely been a routine of mine that I think JJ took from me.
Yes.
But yes, I I sit down, I'm cross-legged, the eyes are closed, I'm speaking things into existence, I'm trying to find the lead that's going to just get 1 million subscribers at The Athletic. I'm thinking about story angles. I'm just visualizing success. And it's a very powerful routine that, it is. It's usually about 4 hours before a game in the quiet of the stadium where it's just me and the lights in the court and nobody else. And that's, why it's been, such a success for me in this career. It's just all, it's yoga, it's meditation, it's speaking things into existence.
Well, in all seriousness, I get it. Maybe that helps them, and it's a great visual for TV. I get all of that, and I get how important it is. The story angles having to do with all the captains speaking their piece, and this is the kid who's got something extra in the intangibles. But I talked about earlier. I don't know who the ESPN analyst was before the game, but one of their big shots said, man, you know what I need to see with J.J. McCarthy? I need to see him just make some plays. I don't need to hear any more about what a leader he is and the intangibles and all this stuff. Just make a couple of pressure passes, get your team in position to win. And that's the beauty of the performance, because ultimately we saw enough of that to encourage the notion that if he's not necessarily the quarterback of the present who's ready to lead them all the way, that he might well become that over a period of time. That's what I want to see, because I think we've all been contemplating our navel about him too much. And my theory is it's because we got no body of work to go on because he's missed so many games, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it, Dan. And you know me. I'm a storyteller. I'm a sucker for some of those narratives and things. But here's the other thing that I'll tell you about that is that right now, we are looking at that as look at this guy and look at the preparation and the commitment that he has to it and how focused and locked in he is. Wow, isn't this cool? If they would have gone out and lost, if he would have played poorly and been, hey, this guy's a little weird, like what? This isn't quirky. Like, this is just plain weird. Why is he doing this? And this is not what Tom Brady does, or this is not what Patrick Mahomes does, and so this kid doesn't have it. And so it really is, like, at the end of the day, as much as I love to tell stories and I love to bring people behind the curtain, and I'll continue to do that, it is, especially in the NFL, it's results-based. Like, you have to be able to put something on the field. And I frankly thought that some of the naysayers were a little too down on him with such little body of work, Dan. How could you really make a determination one way or the other? But I do think he needed that performance on Sunday, and he needed to go out and make big plays in a big situation. It does change the way some outside people look at him, even if it doesn't change the way people inside the organization look. It's important. You have to do it on the field, and then all of those other bells and whistles are cool parts of your story and not the whole story.
No, there's no question about that. But it was, like you said, a good start and a very good performance.
Yep.
I think maybe more than anything, starting with the defense, we spent a lot of time talking about the defensive side being really instrumental, because Gibbs, who has absolutely tortured them, was no factor. They literally made him, they rendered him useless, which is a big step for this team, which had, I don't think he's good against everybody, but I don't think he's been I don't think there's anybody he's been as good against as the Vikings. He's just absolutely torched this club in the past.
Yeah, and I mean, I think having Blake Cashman back for a few weeks now, getting Van Ginkel back out there, maybe limiting some of the snaps. I haven't seen the snap counts yet, but limiting some of them for Dallas Turner, who has struggled in the run game, helps things. But they certainly played with an entirely different edge, with an entirely different approach than we had seen from this defense. And that, to me, is the biggest key, because, we know that J.J. McCarthy is going to go through the ups and downs. He's a young quarterback. There's going to be that. We know they're banged up on the offensive line, and so you might get some inconsistencies offensively. What we were not supposed to see this season was the defense struggle to the degree that it has.
Right.
And so if they have rediscovered it, if they're just a little healthier now, that's all good for the Vikings, and that is promising for maybe being able to stack a few wins going forward.
Biggest surprise in this young NBA season, or the story that's kind of caught your eye, even if it was not necessarily a surprise?
Yeah, I mean, the two teams that have really jumped off the screen are Philadelphia, They're beating everyone, and with a young backcourt, Embiid isn't really even doing a whole lot for them right now. And they're really exciting. They have this rookie VJ Edgecombe who's just jumping out of the gym and doing great things. But then, I mean, the other one is, Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, man. I mean, we all were kind of looking at them as maybe a team that's still a year or two away, and maybe eventually they still will be. But right now, I mean, I know you had an off game the other night, but he has been dominating to a point where it's no, he's legitimately a top 5, top 6 player right now. And that's how impactful he's been. And the rest of the team is kind of following him, and just playing great basketball right now. And so it looks like his arrival may be a little bit ahead of schedule here, which is an issue for everyone in the league, including the Timberwolves.
Are you going to try? So you're, I assume, staying for the Cat game, for the Knicks game, correct?
I wouldn't miss it.
So are you
not miss it, Dan.
What's the shock jock influence in you going to do here? What's the plan? Are you going to try to get him going? What's the controversy you think you might be able to create?
Yeah, we'll find out. I'm not sure yet, but I don't know that I'm going to have to try that hard. It's a little angsty here in New York about the
already.
Knicks, about
I know.
Cat fit.
Didn't take long.
That happens naturally, and so I'm just going to come in and how I do like to stir it a little bit. So
yeah.
I might just have to take 1 or 2 stirs of the pot rather than really get into it.
That's
because
true.
It's already whipped up around here.
That was a long-winded answer to say you're going to have to subscribe to The Athletic
to find out.
You didn't answer the question.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not there yet. It'll be there Thursday morning.
Have fun in Brooklyn, my friend. We'll chat soon. Thanks, Johnny.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Jonny Athletic helping us out. We're out early because Wolves Nets coming up next here on the flagship. Don't forget Gopher Hoops on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. That's men's hoops we're talking about?
Gardner Webb.
Nice. Tomorrow, we've got a couple of guests to talk about the new Prince musical that are very close to that story. Kevin Seifert will join Louis tomorrow, too?
That's the plan.
It'll be a very busy program. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will talk to you tomorrow beginning at 3 o'clock.
Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the great time. We love you, Dan.
Well, go Twins. Thank you for the airtime, and I'll talk to you soon.